Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. I know what it feels like to be waiting. You prayed for it. You worked for it. You believed for it. And yet, it hasn't happened. You're sitting there wondering, why is God taking so long? Why do I keep getting so close but never crossing the line? Let me tell you something. A delay is not a denial. When God delays your dream, He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. He's building something inside you that's bigger than the dream itself. You think you're waiting for the blessing, but God says, I'm waiting for you to become the person who can handle the blessing. When God delays your dream, it's not because He forgot you, it's because He's still forming you. Too many people think delay means denial, that silence from heaven means God closed the door. No, that's not how He works. A delay means development. It means you're not being punished, you're being prepared. It means God is building you in the dark so you can handle the light when it finally shines on you. Because here's the truth, the dream is heavy, it comes with weight, it comes with responsibility, it comes with pressure. If God gave it to you too early, it would crush you. The delay is His way of strengthening your shoulders so that when the weight of the dream finally rests on you, you can stand tall instead of breaking under it. You want the dream, but you don't want the discipline that comes with it. You want the platform, but you don't want the process. That's not how God works. He'll make you wait until the inside of you matches what He's promised on the outside. You're praying for increase, but He's watching how you handle the little you already have. You're asking for promotion, but He's looking at your patience. You're begging for the blessing, but He's testing your behavior when the answer is not yet. The delay is the training ground. It's where character is built, where endurance is tested, where consistency is proven. Look at every great person who ever carried a dream. They all went through a delay. Joseph had a dream and ended up in a pit, then in a prison before he ever touched the palace. David was anointed king, but had to spend years running from Saul before he ever sat on the throne. Even Jesus waited 30 years for 3 years of ministry. Why? Because greatness takes preparation. You don't rise to the level of your dream, you rise to the level of your preparation. The delay is not wasted time, it's invested time. Every tear you cry, every night you spend questioning, every failure, every setback, it's shaping you. You're learning lessons that success could never teach you. You're developing faith that comfort could never grow. You're gaining strength that shortcuts could never produce. The delay is where you find out who you really are, not when it's easy, not when it's comfortable, but when it's hard, when you want to quit, when nothing makes sense and you still show up, still believe, still grind. That's the kind of person God can trust with a dream. So don't despise the delay, embrace it, because the dream isn't dying, it's developing. God's not holding it back from you, He's holding it for you until you're ready. When the development is complete, when the preparation is done, the delay will break, and everything you've been waiting for will come rushing in. You think God's taking too long. You've been praying, grinding, believing, doing everything you know how to do, and it still hasn't happened. You start asking, God, where are you? Why is this taking so long? But hear me, God's timing is not slow, it's strategic. He's not late. He's aligning everything, everyone, every opportunity that has to come together for the dream to happen exactly the way He planned it. See, you're focused on your clock, but God's operating on a calendar you can't see. He's not just preparing the blessing for you, He's preparing you for the blessing, and He's preparing the timing for both to collide perfectly. Sometimes you think you're ready, but God knows what you can't see. You see the dream, but He sees the road. He sees the people who still need to enter your life, the lessons you still need to learn, the strength you still need to build. He knows that if He gives it to you now, it won't last. So, while you think it's slow, He's being surgical with His timing. He's lining up the resources, the connections, the favor, and even the obstacles that will shape your destiny. Because when it finally happens, you'll see why it couldn't have happened one day sooner or one day later. When you rush God's timing, you ruin His process. You can force a door open that was never meant for you and end up in a room that can't hold your purpose. God doesn't operate in panic, He operates in precision. You want it now, but God wants it right. He's not just watching the calendar, he's watching your character. He's testing if you can stay patient when everything inside you wants to move. Because real maturity isn't about how you act when everything's going your way, it's about how you wait when nothing seems to be moving. Think about it, a seed doesn't grow the moment it's planted. It has to stay underground, hidden, unseen, while the roots go deep. That's what God's doing with you. You're underground right now, and you're mistaking it for being buried when really you're being planted. God's timing allows your roots to grow strong, so that when your dream finally breaks the surface, it doesn't fall apart in the storm. One day, everything that seemed delayed will suddenly make sense. The doors that wouldn't open, the people who left, the jobs that didn't work out, they'll all line up in a perfect pattern. Because when God moves, he moves suddenly. What looked like years of delay will unfold in moments of destiny. So don't confuse slow for strategic. God's not making you wait to punish you. He's making you wait so that when he finally releases the dream, no man, no system, no enemy can take credit for what he alone orchestrated. The delay is divine precision, and when his timing hits, everything will shift in an instant. Everybody wants the platform, but nobody wants the process. Everybody wants the spotlight, but nobody wants to stand in the shadows. But let me tell you something, the process is not your punishment. It's your preparation. The platform is the reward, but the process is the classroom. You can't skip it. You can't fast forward it. You can't pray your way around it. God uses the process to make sure that when you get to the platform, you've got the strength, the humility, and the maturity to stay there. You see, the process doesn't just give you the dream, it builds the person who can sustain the dream. If you get there too early, you'll crumble under the weight of it. That's why the process hurts. That's why it's lonely. That's why it feels like nothing's working. Because God is stripping away everything that's not strong enough to go where you're going. He's burning off pride, fear, insecurity, laziness, excuses. He's molding you through the pain, shaping you through the pressure. He's not trying to destroy you, he's trying to develop you. Every setback in the process is a setup for strength. Every no you hear is teaching you perseverance. Every delay is building your endurance. Every door that closes is pushing you to find another way. The process will break you down, but only so it can build you back stronger. You think God forgot you because you're in the valley, but the valley is where he trains his warriors. The valley is where vision becomes muscle. The valley is where talk turns into action. Let me tell you this, the process doesn't lie. If you cheat the process, you cheat your potential. If you try to bypass the struggle, you miss the strength that only the struggle can build. You want elevation without endurance, glory without grind, success without scars. But it doesn't work that way. God will let you taste failure, rejection, betrayal, and confusion not to hurt you, but to prove to you that even when everything falls apart, you can still stand. You may not see it right now, but everything you're going through is training for where you're headed. That job you hate is teaching you discipline. That heartbreak is teaching you empathy. That rejection is teaching you resilience. The process is custom made for your purpose. Every season you survive is sharpening your edge for the moment when God says, now. When you finally step into the dream, you'll look back and realize the process was the real blessing. It gave you grit, gratitude, and grace. It taught you how to fight, how to focus, how to stand when no one believed. You'll thank God for every lonely night, every painful lesson, every tear you cried. Because the process didn't just prepare you for the platform, it prepared you to own it, to handle it, and to honor God through it. You're in a season right now where nobody sees you. Nobody's calling your name, nobody's clapping for you, nobody's checking up on you. You feel invisible, forgotten, overlooked. But listen, hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. They are sacred seasons. They are the moments when God hides you on purpose, not to punish you, but to prepare you, because he knows if he reveals you too soon, the world will applaud a version of you that's not yet complete. So he tucks you away in the shadows, in the quiet, in the unseen corners of life, and says, "Let me build you in private before I reveal you in public." See, it's easy to want the spotlight, but the spotlight exposes everything, the good and the bad. And if your roots aren't deep, the heat of the light will burn you out. That's why God develops his champions in the dark. That's where he builds character. That's where he strengthens faith. That's where he teaches you how to pray, how to stand alone, how to hear his voice when there's no crowd, no noise, no validation. Hidden seasons build unshakable strength because when nobody's watching, you're forced to depend only on him. When you're hidden, it's quiet, too quiet. You start questioning yourself, questioning God, wondering if you've been forgotten, but that silence is divine construction. It's where your foundation is being poured. You're learning lessons in the dark that will sustain you in the light. You're being prepared to handle pressure before it ever arrives. Think about it, diamonds don't form in open sunlight. They're formed deep underground, under heat and pressure, away from sight. And when they finally emerge, they shine because of what they survived in the hidden place. So if you're in that hidden season, don't despise it. That's your gym. That's where spiritual muscle is built. That's where endurance grows. That's where you stop needing people's approval and start living for God's purpose. Because when the applause fades and the followers disappear, the only thing that will keep you standing is what you developed in private with God. The hidden season is where dreams mature. You planted the seed, but it has to stay buried before it can bloom. And while it's underground, it's not dead, it's growing roots. Roots that will keep it standing when the storms come. So don't curse the dirt that covers you, it's the very thing that's nourishing you. When God finally brings you out of hiding, you'll be unshakable, you'll be grounded, you'll be ready. People will see the strength, the wisdom, the grace, but they won't know what it cost you in the quiet. They won't know about the nights you cried, the prayers nobody heard, the faith it took to keep believing. But God knows. He saw every moment, and when the time is right, he'll reveal you not because you asked for it, but because you're now strong enough to handle it. Sometimes the very thing you're calling a setback is actually God saving your life. You're frustrated because it didn't happen when or how you wanted, the job didn't come through. The relationship fell apart. The opportunity slipped away. But what if I told you that was protection, not rejection? God's preparation always comes with protection. He sees the traps before you do. He knows the dangers you can't discern. So when he delays your dream, he's not being cruel, he's covering you. He's keeping you out of something that could have destroyed you if he had given it too soon. You think you're ready, but God knows the version of you that's still fragile, still learning, still being molded. So he slows the process down to keep you safe. Sometimes the blessing isn't in what you gain, it's in what you avoid. You wanted the dream to come now, but God said, not yet, because he saw what you couldn't see. He saw the weight you weren't strong enough to carry. He saw the people around you who weren't ready to walk with you. He saw the spiritual warfare waiting on the other side of that door. So instead of rushing you forward, he put you under construction. Preparation and protection go hand in hand. God uses preparation to make sure that when you finally arrive, you can survive. That's why it feels like you're going through storms that don't make sense, because he's fortifying you. You're praying for open doors, but he's saying, I'm reinforcing your walls first. He's teaching you discernment so you'll know who to trust when you get there. He's teaching you patience so you don't sabotage your own breakthrough. He's teaching you endurance so that success doesn't scare you. Some of the biggest blessings in your life will be the doors that didn't open. The people that walked away, the opportunities that disappeared. You'll look back one day and realize if that had worked out, it would have wrecked you. If you had gotten that position, you wouldn't have been ready to handle the pressure. If you had married that person, you would have missed the one God had truly prepared for you. Every no that felt painful was God whispering, I'm protecting something better. And here's the truth, protection doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like loss, sometimes it feels like failure, But the same God who closes doors is the same God who parts seas. He's not taking anything from you that's meant for you. When he delays your dream, it's because he's still building the environment where your dream can thrive safely. He's arranging the timing, the people, and the place so that when it happens, it's protected from anything that could destroy it. So stop crying over what didn't work out. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God's delays are not roadblocks, they're shields. While you were focused on the pain of what you lost, he was focused on the protection of who you're becoming. He's not just preparing you for the dream, he's protecting the dream for you. Everybody talks about faith when life is good, when doors are opening, when prayers are being answered, when everything feels like it's falling into place. But that's not real faith. Real faith shows up when nothing is working. When you've been praying for years and still can't see results, when the dream feels dead, when you're walking through darkness with no sign of light, that's where your faith is proven. God delays your dream not to break your faith, but to prove it. Because untested faith is unproven faith, and unproven faith can't carry destiny. When you're in that waiting season, God is asking you one question. Do you still trust me when you can't trace me? Do you still believe when nothing around you looks like the promise? Anybody can shout when they win. But can you still worship when you lose? Can you still get up when life knocks you flat? Can you still speak life over a dream that's been silent for years? That's where faith becomes real, not in your comfort zone, but in your conflict. See, God doesn't test your faith to see if you'll fail. He already knows your strength. The test is for you. The test reveals to you what's inside you, the courage you didn't know you had, the endurance you didn't think was possible, the power to stand when everything says sit down. Faith isn't proven in moments of victory. It's proven in moments of delay. When you keep walking toward a door that hasn't opened yet, you're showing heaven that you trust God's promise more than your pain. Think about Abraham. God told him he'd be a father, but decades passed before it happened. Every year that went by was another chance to doubt, but instead of giving up, he kept believing. That's what made him great. Faith like that can't be taught. It has to be lived, and God will delay your dream just long enough to develop that kind of faith inside you. Because when the dream finally arrives, you'll know it wasn't luck, it wasn't timing, it wasn't talent, it was faith. There will be moments when your faith feels thin, when the waiting feels unbearable, when your prayers hit the ceiling. But listen, faith isn't about feelings, it's about commitment. It's about standing on what God said even when everything around you is screaming the opposite. You've got to learn to walk with tears in your eyes and still say, God, I trust you. You've got to keep believing when your emotions are begging you to quit. God delays your dream to train your faith muscles. Every time you refuse to give up, those muscles grow stronger. Every no, that doesn't stop you, makes you more dangerous to doubt. And when the reward finally comes, your faith will be so strong that nothing can shake it. The dream won't just be a blessing, it'll be a testimony. Because through the delay, you didn't just prove your faith proved you. Every delay is like a mirror, it doesn't lie. It shows you who you really are. When everything's going right, when doors are opening and dreams are unfolding, it's easy to look strong, confident, and faithful. But when God delays, when nothing seems to move, when all you hear is silence, that's when the truth shows up. The delay exposes what's inside you. It reveals your patience, your pride, your perseverance, and your purpose. It shows you whether your faith is rooted in feelings or grounded in conviction. You say you trust God, but can you still trust Him when His timing doesn't match yours? You say you're committed, but can you still show up when nothing's happening? You say you believe, but can you keep believing when the dream looks impossible? The delay is God's way of stripping off the layers, of revealing the real you beneath the surface. Because until you see what's still weak inside you, you'll never know what still needs to grow. The truth is, the waiting room is the testing room. That's where God measures your heart, not your hustle. You can fake passion for a week. You can fake confidence for a month, but you can't fake consistency for years. Delay exposes whether your motivation comes from ambition or assignment. Are you chasing the dream because you want applause or because you were called? When God delays your dream, He's not asking, can you work hard? He's asking, can you stay faithful? Sometimes the delay reveals anger, frustration, fear, or jealousy. You see others getting their blessings while you're still waiting, and something rises up inside you. That's not failure, that's feedback. It means God's showing you what still needs healing. He's bringing to the surface what's been hiding deep down. The waiting doesn't just build your faith, it cleans your heart. It detoxes your motives. It removes the parts of you that would ruin the dream if you carried them into it. Look at the stories of the greats. Moses had to wait 40 years in the desert before God sent him to Pharaoh. That delay exposed his doubts, his fears, his insecurities, but it also refined him into a man who could lead a nation. The delay made him, and the same is true for you. You're not being delayed to destroy your destiny. You're being delayed to develop it. Every time you respond to delay with discipline, you grow. Every time you respond to frustration with faith, you evolve. Every time you choose patience over panic, heaven takes note. Because what's happening in you is more important than what's happening around you. You may not like it, but God uses the waiting to prepare the warrior inside you. So when the delay stretches longer than you expected, don't waste it by complaining, study it. Ask yourself, what is this delay trying to teach me? What is God revealing in me? Because when you finally see what He was working on inside, you'll realize the delay wasn't just a pause in the dream. It was the part that made you ready to live it. You asked God for something simple, a dream, a goal, a breakthrough, but what you didn't know was that God wasn't just preparing to give you what you asked for. He was preparing to give you more. You saw a dream, but God saw a destiny. You saw a moment, but He saw a mission. That's why it's taking so long, because what He's building in you is way bigger than what you prayed for. You thought you were waiting for a blessing, but God says, I'm building a legacy. You asked for one door, but He's designing an entire hallway. When God delays your dream, it's because He's upgrading it. You had a picture in your mind of how it should look, how it should feel, how it should happen, but God's plan is so much higher than your plan. That's why it doesn't fit into your timeline. He's not preparing a moment of satisfaction. He's preparing a movement of transformation. He's not just answering your request. He's equipping you for an assignment. Sometimes you pray for the dream job, and God's preparing you to own the company. You pray for a relationship, and God's teaching you how to love yourself first, so you can handle the love He's about to send. You pray for a platform, and God's developing your voice so you can speak to nations, not just rooms. You pray for comfort, and God gives you calling. You're asking for what's small enough to fit your imagination, but He's preparing what's big enough to fulfill your destiny. That's why the process feels so heavy. That's why the preparation hurts so much. You're being stretched for something greater. Every delay is God expanding your capacity. He's teaching you patience so you can handle promotion. He's teaching you endurance so you can manage elevation. He's building wisdom so you can sustain wealth. He's teaching you how to walk by faith so that when you finally reach the dream, you won't crumble when challenges come. You see, God doesn't give you what you're praying for. He gives you what you're ready for. And the longer the delay, the bigger the destiny. Because if it was small, it would have come easy. But big dreams require big development. If you're still in the waiting season, that means your calling is larger than you think. Don't get frustrated, get focused. God's not ignoring your prayers. He's expanding your purpose. One day, when it all unfolds, you'll look back and realize that God was never preparing you for what you asked, for He was preparing you beyond it. The dream you thought was the destination was only the doorway. What He's about to do will exceed your imagination, surpass your expectations, and silence your doubts. You'll see why the delay took so long, because He wasn't just giving you your dream. He was preparing you for the destiny that comes with it. There's a moment in every dreamer's life where it feels like God went silent. You're praying, you're grinding, you're doing everything you know how to do, but the doors won't open. You see others passing you by. You start asking, God, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth. When God delays your dream, He's not denying it, He's preparing you for it. Because a dream given too early becomes a burden, not a blessing. And preparation takes time. When God delays your dream, it's not punishment, it's process. Think about it. Every delay is a setup for development. You're not just sitting in the dark, you're being shaped in the dark. God's sharpening your patience, your discipline, your character, your faith. You can't lead if you can't wait. You can't manage success if you can't handle struggle. So God holds the promise back, not because you're forgotten, but because He's fortifying your foundation. Some of you are frustrated because it's taking too long. You've prayed, you've cried, you've sacrificed, and it still hasn't happened. But what if God's saying, I can't give it to you yet, because I love you too much to watch it destroy you? You see, if He gave you the dream before you were ready, the weight of it would crush you. That's why every delay is an act of mercy. Every not yet is His protection, not rejection. During the delay, God is building something inside you that success can't teach you endurance. He's testing how bad you really want it, because dreams aren't handed to the half-hearted. They're given to those who can push when no one's watching, who can stay faithful when nothing's happening. The waiting season is where warriors are made. It's where you learn to fight through fatigue, to trust when it doesn't make sense, to believe when there's no sign. And listen while you're waiting. Heaven is still working. God's not asleep. He's aligning opportunities, moving people, preparing the platform. What looks like a pause to you is precision to Him. He's synchronizing your destiny with divine timing, so don't rush it. You might be early, but God is never late. Sometimes He delays your dream because He's teaching you to depend on Him, not the dream itself. You've got to want the giver more than the gift. The delay reveals what's really in your heart. Will you still praise when it's painful? Will you still serve when it's slow? Will you still trust when you can't trace Him? Those moments prove whether your faith is rooted in comfort or conviction. The delay is your training ground. David wasn't crowned the day he was anointed. He had to survive the wilderness first. Joseph didn't go from dream to destiny. Overnight, he had to endure the pit and the prison before the palace. Why? Because the promise requires pressure. Every delay is a divine gym session, God's, strengthening the muscles you'll need to carry the blessing. You might not see it, but while you're waiting, you're growing. The delay is making you more humble, more grateful, more grounded. It's teaching you to lead with compassion, to walk with purpose, to appreciate what's coming. Because when the dream finally comes, you won't just celebrate the destination, you'll value the journey that built you. So don't give up in the delay. Don't curse the process, because what feels like a setback is actually set up. God's saying, I'm not done with you, I'm just not ready to reveal what I've been building. And when He finally releases it, you'll realize the wait wasn't wasted. You'll understand that every tear, every trial, every delay was the very thing that prepared you for your destiny. There will come a moment right before the dream breaks open where everything in you will want to quit. The pressure will be heavy, the silence will be deafening, and you'll wonder if you've been wasting your time. But hear this clearly. When you're closest to the promise, the resistance is always the strongest. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. Because the enemy doesn't attack what's finished, he attacks what's forming. The delay right before breakthrough isn't a dead end, it's the final test. God wants to know, will you still believe when it hurts the most? The 10th key to understanding when God delays your dream is this: you must stay faithful until the finish line. Most people can start with passion, but only the chosen finish with endurance. The dream God gave you wasn't meant to be a sprint. It's a marathon of faith. And if you quit now, you'll never know how close you were to your breakthrough. Sometimes the delay is God's way of seeing if you can hold on just a little longer, not because He's cruel, but because he's building in you the strength to sustain the blessing once it arrives. You've got to understand something powerful. Your faith doesn't prove itself when everything's going right. It proves itself when nothing seems to move. That's when you discover what you're truly made of. Anybody can trust God in the sunshine, but can you trust him in the storm? Can you keep showing up when the doors stay closed? Can you keep believing when the evidence says otherwise? That's where destiny is forged in the fire of faithfulness. There's a reason God allows delays. He's not trying to discourage you. He's refining your perspective. Because it's easy to chase the dream, but God's more interested in shaping the dreamer. The waiting season humbles you. It strips away pride, impatience, and fear until only raw faith remains. You stop asking when and start saying even if it takes longer, even if I don't see it yet, even if it costs me everything, I'm still going to believe. That's when heaven starts to move. You see, when you refuse to quit, you declare something powerful, that your faith is greater than your frustration. You start walking by trust, not by timelines. You start realizing that delay isn't destruction, it's direction. Because God is not just preparing the dream for you, He's preparing you for the dream. The promise hasn't been canceled, it's being cultivated. So don't misinterpret the silence. Don't let the waiting fool you. What looks like nothing happening is everything aligning. The dream may be delayed, but it's not denied. And when the appointed time comes, everything that tried to hold you back, the doubt, the fear, the delay, will have to bow to what God has ordained. Stay faithful, keep believing, keep moving, because when the delay ends, and it will end, you'll realize it wasn't just about reaching the dream. It was about becoming the person worthy of it. And that, right there, is the real preparation. So as you stand here waiting, wondering, maybe even hurting, don't mistake the silence for absence. God hasn't forgotten you. He's crafting something in the unseen. The delay is not the end of your story. It's the shaping of your strength. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Every detour, every disappointment, every sleepless night has been working towards something bigger than you can see. Because when the time comes, and it will come, everything will make sense. The lessons, the losses, the late nights, the tears, all of it will connect. You'll look back and realize that the delay was the best thing that could have happened to you. It taught you to trust when you couldn't trace him. It taught you to fight when you felt empty. It taught you that success built on shortcuts won't last, but destiny built on endurance never fails. So keep moving, keep praying, keep believing. You're not stuck, you're in strategy. You're not behind, you're in training. And when the breakthrough comes, it won't be by accident. It'll be because you stayed faithful in the fire, consistent in the climb, and obedient in the delay. Your dream is still alive. God hasn't changed his mind. You've come too far to quit now. The wait is almost over, and when it's finally your season, when the door finally opens, you won't just walk into it. You'll own it, because you'll know deep in your soul that the delay didn't break you. It built you.